The roast beef was perfectly cooked, but it tasted like ash in my mouth. Mom had insisted on this special family dinner, saying she and Dad had important matters to discuss. Now I knew why. The thick legal document sitting next to her plate told the whole story. "We've decided to be transparent about our will," Mom announced, her hand resting possessively on the document. "No surprises, no drama later." My siblings, Tom and Sarah, exchanged knowing smiles across the mahogany dining table. They already knew what was coming. Their matching expressions of smug satisfaction made that clear. "Michael," Dad cleared his throat, "given your lifestyle choices, we feel it's best to ensure the family assets are preserved properly." "Ah yes, my lifestyle choices. Like choosing to become a surgeon instead of joining the family real estate business. Like dedicating my life to pediatric surgery while my siblings managed shopping malls and office buildings. The will stipulates that all properties, investments, and family heirlooms will be divided equally between Tom and Sarah," Mom continued, her voice carrying that familiar note of disappointment. "They understand the importance of maintaining the family's legacy." I cut another piece of roast beef, maintaining a carefully neutral expression. "And what legacy would that be?" "Don't be difficult," Sarah snapped. "You chose to abandon the family business. Actions have consequences." Tom nodded sagely as if he hadn't spent the last decade riding on Dad's coattails. "The family name means something in real estate circles. We can't risk having those assets mismanaged." I thought about my morning 8 hours of surgery, saving a 5-year-old's life. About the research grant I'd just secured for developing new pediatric surgical techniques. About the clinic I'd established in an underserved neighborhood. "You won't get a single cent," Mom stated flatly, looking me straight in the eye. "I want that to be perfectly clear." The silence stretched as I dabbed my mouth with the napkin. Years of surgical precision had taught me the value of careful timing. "All right," I smiled, setting down my fork and knife with deliberate slowness. "Then don't expect a single cent from me either." "What's that supposed to mean?" Dad's voice held a note of worry. "It means," I stood up, "that you should check your calendar. Isn't the annual property tax due next month? And Tom's leveraged buyout of that strip mall. Those payments start soon, don't they?" The color drained from Tom's face. Sarah's smug smile flickered. "What are you talking about?" Mom demanded, but her hand trembled slightly on the will. "Who do you think has been covering those expenses?" I asked quietly. "Who paid off the tax liens last year? Who provided the collateral for Tom's loans? Who's been subsidizing Sarah's successful property management company?" Dad's fork clattered against his plate. That's different. Family helps family." "Does it?" I pulled out my phone, pulling up my banking app. "Let's talk numbers. Last year alone, $342,000 in property tax payments. $890,000 in loan guarantees. $250,000 in emergency business expenses. Should I go on?" "You wouldn't dare cut us off," Sarah's voice cracked slightly. "The family name dash. My name is on the door of a surgical ward that saves children's lives," I interrupted. "I think it's doing just fine." I turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and one more thing. Those trust funds Grandma left us? The ones you've been living off? Check who's been managing them since she passed. You might find some interesting details about who actually controls those assets." Mom stood up so quickly her chair toppled backward. "You're bluffing. We would have known dash." "Would you?" I smiled again. "When was the last time any of you actually read a financial statement? Too busy maintaining the family legacy, I suppose." I walked to the door, then turned back for one final look at their shocked faces. "I have surgery in the morning. Children who need my help. But don't worry about the will. I won't need a single cent from you." The door closed behind me with a satisfying click, leaving them with their perfect roast beef and their carefully planned inheritance. They had no idea what was coming. The first signs of trouble hit exactly 3 days later. I was scrubbing in for surgery when my phone lit up with notifications. My financial manager, Rebecca, had executed phase 1 exactly as planned. "Dr. Carter," my surgical nurse called out, "your brother's trying to reach you. Says it's an emergency." "I'm sure it is," I murmured, focusing on my preparations. "Tell him I'm in surgery. For the next 8 hours." The operation was delicate, a complex cardiac procedure on a 3-year-old. This was my real legacy, not some collection of shopping malls and office buildings. As I worked, I thought about the series of events unfolding outside the operating room. By now, Tom would have received notice that his loan guarantees had been withdrawn. Sarah would be discovering that her company's line of credit had been suspended. And my parents? They should be getting a very interesting visit from their tax assessor. 8 hours later, I emerged from surgery successful as usual, to find 47 missed calls and a flood of texts. Tom, what the hell did you do? The bank's threatening to call my loans. Sarah, fix this now. I have payroll tomorrow. Mom, your father's having chest pains because of you. Dad, son, let's talk about this reasonably. I ignored them all, instead calling Rebecca for an update. It's done, she confirmed. The trust fund control has been formally transferred back to your name, as per your grandmother's original instructions. Your siblings never actually read the fine print. You were always meant to manage it once you completed your medical training. And the property tax audit? In progress. The assessor's office was very interested in some of the creative valuations your family's been using. I smiled, remembering my grandmother's last words to me. They think real estate is the only valuable legacy, but you'll save lives. Watch over them, Michael, but don't let them destroy themselves with greed. Walking to my office, I pulled up the detailed financial records I'd been keeping for years. Every time they'd called for emergency funds. Every tax bill I'd quietly paid. Every loan I'd guaranteed. All while they dismissed my career as a waste of potential. My phone buzzed again, a text from Sarah. Just got off the phone with grandmother's lawyer. How long have you known about the trust? I typed back, since the day she died. She knew who would actually handle the responsibility. Another buzz. Tom, you can't do this. I have investors waiting. My response, investors? Or more loans you can't afford? Then came the email from Dad, subject line family meeting urgent. Son, your mother's beside herself. The tax assessor says we owe back penalties. The bank's reviewing all our loans. Sarah's company is facing an audit. This vindictiveness isn't like you. We need to meet. Tomorrow 9 a.m. my office. As a family. Dad. I replied. Dear Dad. Unfortunately I have 3 surgeries scheduled tomorrow. Children who need my help. You know that waste of potential you always talked about? But let me save us all some time. 1. The trust fund was always meant to be managed by someone with demonstrated financial responsibility, grandmother's words, not mine. 2. Those tax valuations you've been using? Highly questionable. The assessor's office sends their regards. 3. Tom's leveraged buyouts were a house of cards waiting to collapse. I just stopped propping them up. 4. Sarah's company hasn't turned a real profit in 5 years. I have the audits to prove it. You wanted transparency about inheritance? Let's be transparent about everything. Michael. Peace Mom's designer handbag collection? The one she brags about at charity events? I bought those too. Might want to check the receipts. The response was immediate. Mom calling through tears, Sarah threatening legal action, Tom alternating between threats and begging. I let them all go to voicemail. Instead, I focused on my evening rounds, checking on my patients. In the pediatric ward, little Emma, yesterday's surgery patient, was already showing improvement. Her parents' grateful tears meant more than any real estate portfolio. But the real bombshell was still coming. Because tomorrow morning, while I was in surgery, a very interesting story would be breaking in the local business journal. Carter Family Real Estate Empire, a house of cards? The article would detail years of questionable business practices, tax schemes and over-leveraged properties. All carefully documented, all thoroughly verified. And all made possible by their own arrogant assumption that I was too busy playing doctor to understand finance. The article hit like a Category 5 hurricane in the business community. By the time I finished my morning surgeries, the Carter family's carefully constructed reputation was in shambles. The local business journal's headline was just the beginning. Other media outlets quickly picked up the story, each adding new layers of revelation about the family's financial house of cards. My phone had finally stopped buzzing with their messages, replaced by calls from journalists seeking comment. I ignored those too, focusing instead on my afternoon clinic appointments. But through my hospital office window, I could see the chaos unfolding in the business district where the Carter real estate headquarters dominated the skyline. Rebecca sent me regular updates. Tom's investors are pulling out. 3 development projects suspended. Sarah's company just lost its biggest property management contracts. Your parents' country club membership is under review, pending the tax investigation. Then came the email I'd been waiting for from grandmother's attorney, Mr. Patterson. Dr. Carter, as per your grandmother's instructions, I've released the sealed letter she left for your parents. They received it an hour ago. Thought you should know. Also, the trust fund audit is complete. Your management of the assets has been impeccable, exactly as your grandmother predicted. James Patterson. I could picture them reading that letter now, finally understanding why grandmother had spent so much time teaching me about finance during my medical school years. Why she'd insisted I understand every aspect of the family business, even as I pursued my surgical career. My office door opened and Rebecca walked in, tablet in hand. You should see this. She pulled up a local news live stream. There were my parents trying to push through a crowd of reporters outside their office building. Tom attempting to shield his face from cameras. Sarah being served with audit papers right there on the sidewalk. Your father's company stock has lost 40% of its value since the story broke, Rebecca reported. The bank's calling in their loans. The tax assessor's office is expanding their investigation to all Carter family properties. I nodded, reviewing a patient's chart. And the trust fund? Safe. Your grandmother's provisions were ironclad. The money can only be used for productive investments or charitable causes, specifically medical research and children's health care. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Just read your grandmother's letter. Please. We need to talk. Another from Dad. Son, I understand now. What she was preparing you for. What we were too blind to see. I finally picked up my phone and called Mr. Patterson. Release Phase 2. Within minutes, every major news outlet received a press release. Carter Medical Foundation announces $50 million pediatric care initiative. The release detailed how the newly established foundation, funded by the very trust fund my family had tried to claim, would provide cutting-edge medical care to underprivileged children. The first facility would be built right in the heart of the city's poorest neighborhood. As the news spread, my office received another visitor, Emma's parents, coming for her follow-up appointment. Dr. Carter, Emma's mother said, tears in her eyes, we just saw the news about your foundation. What you're doing, it's going to help so many families like us. I smiled, checking Emma's incision site. That's the real family legacy. Not buildings or business deals, but making a difference in people's lives. My phone buzzed again, a group text from my siblings and parents. Mom, the country club just revoked our membership. Tom, why investors are suing. Sarah, the audit found everything. Dad, please son. We need your help. I typed out a single response. I'm busy saving lives. But I hear there's an excellent financial advisor at First National Bank. Maybe start by learning to read your own balance sheets. Then came a final email from Mr. Patterson. Dr. Carter, your grandmother left one more letter, this one for you to be opened today. Her timing as always was impeccable. The letter read, My dearest Michael, if you're reading this, then everything has played out as I feared it might. Your parents and siblings chose the appearance of success over actual achievement. They chose greed over growth. But you, my brilliant grandson, chose to heal. Not just bodies but hopefully now souls too. The trust was always meant for someone who understood that real wealth isn't in buildings or bank accounts. It's in the lives we touch and the good we do. I taught you finance not to pull you into the family business but to protect you from it. To give you the tools to prevent their greed from destroying everything. Use the trust wisely. Build something meaningful. And remember, sometimes the greatest act of love is letting people face the consequences of their choices. With pride and love, Grandmother. The next few weeks transformed the Carter family forever. The tax investigation expanded, revealing years of questionable practices. Tom's development projects collapsed, leaving him facing multiple lawsuits. Sarah's company filed for bankruptcy protection. My parents' social standing, once their greatest pride, crumbled. The same society friends who dismissed my medical career now avoided them at charity events. Events increasingly hosted by the Carter Medical Foundation. But real change often requires hitting rock bottom. 3 months after that fateful dinner, I received another dinner invitation, this time to a modest restaurant across from the hospital. My family sat there, stripped of their designer clothes and expensive watches. They looked smaller somehow, more real. "We've been doing a lot of thinking," Dad began. "And meeting with financial advisors," Tom added ruefully. "And lawyers," Sarah sighed. Mom reached for my hand across the table. "We read the article about your latest surgery. The little girl who can walk again because of you. We never understood before." "Understood what?" I asked, though I knew the answer. "That real legacy isn't about money or property or social status," Dad said quietly. "It's about making a difference. Like your grandmother tried to teach us. Like you've been showing us all along." I studied their faces, seeing genuine humility for the first time in years. And we want to help," Sarah said. "With the foundation. Not as managers or directors, but just helping. If you'll let us." I thought about grandmother's letter, about her lessons in finance and life. About the difference between enabling and supporting. "The foundation always needs volunteers," I said finally. "In the children's ward. Starting at the bottom, learning what really matters." They nodded, understanding the opportunity and limitation being offered. "One more thing," I added, pulling out some papers. "New wills for all of you to consider. Leaving everything to the foundation. After all, you were so concerned about proper inheritance." Their signatures were shaky but immediate. Sometimes the best revenge isn't in destroying people, but in helping them rebuild something better than what they lost. The next day I performed another complex surgery, saving another young life. Through the observation window I could see my family in their volunteer uniforms, learning what real value looks like. Sometimes the poorest inheritance is money, and the richest legacy is the lives we change.